Hello and welcome to the Irish Aesthete. Previously I was talking about the many different causes with which Edward Martyn occupied a singularly busy life. Today I want to talk about the house that he owned in County Galway. This is Tulira Castle, which, as you can see, is a building in two parts, with that to the left being far newer than the section to the right. The latter is a 15th century tower house built by the de Burgos at some date in the 15th century, but acquired by Edward Martyn's ancestors in the late 16th century. At some later date again, they added a more modern residence onto the old tower house, but no images of this survive. Presumably the results looked not unlike this other one elsewhere in the same county. The old house was demolished in the 1870s by Edward Martyn's mother, who'd been widowed when her son was still an infant. Mrs Martyn was very rich. When she married in 1857, her self-made father had given the groom her weight in gold. Seemingly the gold was worth £20,000, which was the same price as it cost to build the new castle. Mrs Martyn obviously didn't think the old house was grand enough for her son, seen here in adulthood, which is why she decided to knock it down and start again. The notion is that she hoped the building would appeal to a smart girl, but alas, despite eligible girls being encouraged to visit Tulira Castle, her son Edward remained stubbornly single. The architect chosen for the job was George Ashlin, who as a young man had been articled to and then became a partner of Edward Pugin, son of Augustus Welby Pugin, and indeed Ashlin then married one of Pugin Sr.'s daughters. Most of his work involved building churches and monasteries across the country, not least St Colman's Cathedral in Cove, County Cork. So it's easy to see why Mrs Martyn, who was a fervent Roman Catholic, should have chosen him for the job. As finished, the house is a curious hybrid, part medieval castle, part Tudor-Beathan manor house, reflecting both a desire to suggest an ancient lineage for the Martyn family and to admit as much light as possible into the interior through ample plate glass windows. The garden front has a castellated roofline and hood mouldings over the aforementioned windows, but also a neat symmetry that harks back to the classical period. On this side, each end concludes in projecting polygonal bows, at the top of which jut out fantastical carved gargoyles. It's all rather eclectic and has always attracted mixed responses. W.B. Yeats thought the building had been designed in a pretentious modern Gothic, whereas Arthur Symonds described Tulira as a castle of dreams. Moving indoors, one enters a modest entrance hall which gives way to the principal room in the house, a marble-columned, double-height great hall measuring 31 by 32 feet and rising 42 feet. Here Edward Martyn would play the polyphonic music of Palestrina on a long since lost organ. On a richly tiled floor repeatedly decorated with the Martyn motto of Sic hur ad astra, thus one climbs to the stars, rest the bases of black marble columns, their capitals elaborately carved with figures. From here, a massive staircase with quatrefoil balustrading leads to the galleried first floor, where a sequence of arches is supported by further marble columns. Much of the space's decoration is attributed to John Dibley Crace, the English designer and decorator whose father had worked with Augustus Welby Pugin on the Houses of Parliament in London. Crace is also supposed to have been responsible for the ceiling decoration in the main reception rooms, including the drawing room, which retains its original polychromatic chimneypiece bearing the letter M for Martyn. Even more impressive is the chimneypiece in the dining room, inspired by late medieval French examples. The embossed red and bronze wallpaper here was originally installed in the 1880s. Other rooms have been altered since Martyn's time. In the library, for example, the limestone chimneypiece designed by Ashlin was later removed and replaced by this one, 16th or 17th century, and thought to have come from a house in Galway city. Thanks to the building's previous owners, sections of the Ashlin designed stained glass that once filled many of the windows were either restored or recreated, thereby giving us a better idea of how the interiors looked when the Martyns first took up residence here. And those self-same owners also made their own addition to the fenestration, a panel inserted in the library window bearing a portrait of Edward Martyn. And yet, despite all the trouble and expense involved in its construction, Edward Martyn never really liked the new house and preferred to spend his life in the old Tower House. In the next episode, I want to talk a little about that building and what it says about Edward Martyn's character. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for watching The Irish Aesthete. Goodbye.